Welcome back to another edition of the Night Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again are my co-hosts, Richie O'Leary and Alec Crouthamel. We have our first entry into the transfer portal from the Scarlet Knights football team. Running back CJ Campbell announced tonight that he will be entering the portal. And we're going to kind of talk about what that means. We're also going to review everything Greg Schiano had to say in his signing day presser today. He spoke for about 20 minutes to the media. We'll play that and give our reaction. But before we get into any of that, this podcast is presented to you once again by FanDuel. I know I said this earlier today, but I really like tomorrow's matchup in the NFL between the Cowboys and the Lions. I like a Jahmyr Gibbs anytime touchdown. You can use a 30% profit boost token on that bet if you are going to tail. So let's talk about CJ Campbell leaving. I guess it's not really a surprise, given that, he was only here for about 6 months, that he's leaving after Antoine Raymond. We'll find out tomorrow what Big Ten awards he gets, but, an all Big Ten level performance from Antoine Raymond, likely coming back as well. I could understand why he would maybe want to look for an opportunity for more playing time. Richie, talk about what you are hearing regarding the CJ Campbell departure.
Yeah, so it sounds pretty promising based on that news that you would assume Antoine Raymond's probably going to come back. And if he does come back, which I think a lot of us kind of expect him to, out of that core three names that we are going to monitor probably all offseason long, in Ian Strong, KJ Duff, Antoine Raymond, I feel like Antoine Raymond's the most surefire thing to come back. But he dominated the carries this year. He's probably going to do that again next year. Other guys are stepping up too. You saw a little bit of Jayshon Benjamin here and there throughout the season. There's some young guys, up and comers, that are going to get reps eventually, probably next season at this point. With Ed Guerrier, you got to keep an eye on Sam Brown if he's healthy. Who am I missing? Someone. Terrell Mitchell. Terrell Mitchell's another guy too who they liked a lot in spring. Those late scrimmages in spring. We got to see a lot of Terrell Mitchell in one of those because it's usually most of the backups, but he looked really good against those backups. So he's a guy that could be a solid running back down the line. But yeah, for the most part, CJ Campbell obviously got hurt, didn't really help him, didn't really get to see what he could do. I think half of us actually predicted him to be the leading rusher this year. And it's weird how that works because even the Kyle Monangai breakout year, no one picked Kyle Monangai to be the breakout rusher. It happens. And then Antoine Raymond breaks out. So it is what it is. He had his little stint here. I would have loved to have seen what he could have done as a 1-2 complementary running back this year. I think it could have opened up the offense a little bit more, especially because they started passing to the running back more towards the end of the season. So, yeah, it kind of sucks, but it's just kind of depth at this point because Antoine Raymond, again, he's one of the Big Ten's best. He's probably going to be one of the Big Ten's best next year, too, and he's going to dominate the carries. So that's just the way it works, unfortunately. So, I don't know what he's going to do. Probably go back down south to Florida. He was from FAU, FSU, both.
Yeah, I think he proved that he could definitely play at the Power 4 level. I expect him to stay at the Power 4 level. Like you said, Florida State actually wanted him back after he left Rutgers, or after he left Florida Atlantic, and he chose Rutgers because he thought he would have a better opportunity for playing time. And he did until he got hurt, and then Antoine Raymond, went supernova this year.
Alex, Alec, frozen for you?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, there
he is. It's back.
Alec, what are your thoughts on the departure of CJ Campbell? We might have lost Alec here.
Yeah. He's moving. He's muted.
He might be muted
also.
Too.
Yep. Did you get it? No, maybe. Almost. Okay, anyway.
But anyway. Go ahead, Rich.
Okay. I was just going to talk about his other offers that he got after leaving FAU. We got East Carolina, Liberty, Coastal, North Texas. So it is a lot of smaller schools for the most part. But then towards the end is where he started to add the big name schools, whether it be Memphis, Rutgers, Stanford, Houston, and then ended up at Rutgers. But I think he'd have a shot at staying in the Power 5 level. I want to say it's a guarantee. I think if a big name G5 went after him, I think he would probably end up going there. What do you define as a big name G5? I don't know at this point. It's a weird dynamic, but I could see him going back down south specifically just because obviously he's got the Florida ties.
Yep. Alec, what do you think about the CJ Campbell departure?
Okay, I'm actually here now. All right, good. My internet decided not to cooperate for a few minutes, but yeah, I mean, it's just a guy that he just wants to have some kind of lead back role in his final year, so he can have some really good tape to put on for the NFL. He was very solid at Florida Atlantic in 2024. Now, will that role come in the Power Four? I'd say probably. Maybe not. I'm not sure, honestly, what some of the. I mean, if you look at like ACCs, things like that, I'm sure there'll be some kinds of roles open there. But yeah, just wants a bigger role, I'm sure, for his final year. And kind of like you guys were mentioning, seeing him kind of fully fleshed out over a full season in this offense would have been pretty cool. Especially because, like Richie mentioned, they started throwing to the running backs. Like against Penn State, Antoine Raymond caught a 46-yard touchdown, a wheel route. That was one of our things that we talked about in the opening few games this season. They really didn't throw to the running backs at all, which is a big part of the allure of Campbell as a prospect because he has that really strong ability to catch passes out of the backfield and make things happen. He's also just an explosive weapon out of the backfield as well. So wherever he goes, he's going to be one of those guys that he's a potential home run hitter every time he gets the ball and has an open lane. He just has that burst. So, yeah, definitely a shame to see leave. But, I mean, Rutgers is doing very well in terms of running back depth. Like the guys that we already mentioned, Terrell Mitchell also got a lot of run in, whenever the second stringers would play, like against Norfolk State or against Oregon or anything like that. It was always Terrell Mitchell or mostly Terrell Mitchell and Ed Greer. So, yeah, it seems like those guys are next up. And then obviously, you can't really expect too much from a true freshman, but also Michael Duke signed today too, and he brings a little bit of a different skill set. So, yeah, Rutgers running back room is still once again in very good hands.
Yeah, 100%. And this, like you kind of alluded to, Richie, kind of indicates that you're likely, in all likelihood, getting Antoine Raymond back because I mean these guys all talk to each other. I mean, I'm sure that he's made it known, and the staff was probably pretty proactive in terms of making sure that the top guys were taken care of, and I'm sure some of those conversations are still ongoing. But I would be shocked, I would say, if Antoine Raymond isn't back next year.
Yeah, I'm like eerily confident, probably a little bit too confident that he'll be back, but it's weird because number one, like he obviously left high school early in order to get to Rutgers. Obviously, like a very weird dynamic there of how that all like turned out because not many high schools just up and close randomly. So that was a weird one. But his family trusts the coaching staff. If he can even come close to repeating what he did this year, hell, if he puts up another 1,000-yard season, even if it doesn't hit what he hit this year, it was 1,200, I think, or something. Even if he gets 1,000 yards next season, he's probably still going to the league after next year. He's like that good. He's got enough tape out there by now. The only reason he's coming back next year is because he literally has to. Like he doesn't have a choice. You need 3 years before the NFL. But I'd be a little shocked if he didn't return. There's not many schools in the country where not only are you going to be comfortable with the playbook, but there's not many schools in the country that are going to run the ball 60% of the time, and you're going to get the majority of the carries again. So it almost makes too much sense. Their schemes, their blocking schemes, the playbook already. It's the same OC again. The only thing that's really changing is the guy handing the ball off to you and maybe a couple of the guys up front. But hell, one of them still has the same last name that you're replacing. So, I mean, I think I'd be shocked, honestly, at this point that if he wasn't back.
Yeah, and then also you factor in same running backs coach as well. And I feel like for the NFL, they kind of value having the younger guys with that same college production. I mean, look at a guy like Braylon Allen from Wisconsin. He was, I want to say, like 19 when he got drafted because he was another reclassified guy. So it means another year that you get of a guy when he's still in his prime. So yeah, I mean, I don't see why. I think this is the best situation for him, having that familiarity and the run game being especially heavy as it is at Rutgers.
And as we're about to listen to Greg Schiano in a second, highly raved about Demir Shaw. So it sounds like Demir Shaw is pretty much locked in on this coaching staff for the foreseeable future.
Yeah. Before we do get into the Greg Schiano press conference, do you guys think that there will be more announcements of guys leaving in the near future, if you had to guess?
I'd say yes, without a doubt.
Okay.
When that's going to happen could happen right now while we're recording, could happen in an hour from now, could happen tomorrow, could happen in a week, could happen in 2 weeks. It's a weird dynamic because you don't really enter the portal per se. You kind of just tweet it out, or in this case, somehow you tell Pete Nakos, and Pete Nakos tweets it out.
Yep.
So it's going to be interesting to see how it all plays out. But yeah, without a doubt, there's going to be multiple portal names over the next probably week. There'll be a lot of them, but before January 2nd, of course. So you have a whole month.
Yeah, no, I agree. So stay tuned to your podcast feeds and to the boards as we might be talking to you again about a player departing. Let's turn it over now to Greg Schiano and get some reactions on what he had to say at his 2026 signing day press conference. I'm just popping that up now, and we will react on the other side.
Very excited about the 21 young men that signed with us this morning. I think that a great fit for our program. What makes them a great fit, I think it's a long athletic class that loves football, and they're a great cultural fit. So when you take those three things, that's stuff that I've, ask our coaches to really, really go after and make sure that it's not just a great player. That's an easy thing to do. You throw the tape on, you get the measurables, and you know that. But really dig and make sure they're a cultural fit for our program. And thrilled with this group. It's got great balance, offense, defense, positionally, things that I felt we needed in our program. And really pleased with the people that we're bringing into our program as well as the players. So rather than me expound upon all this stuff, I'll open it up to your questions and try to help you get whatever information you need.
Digital Secure Home Plus secures all devices.
Psych.
Quarterback two-parter. What did you like about
One day.
Xavier? And in an ideal world, is this the style of quarterback you get in the sense that you have AJ in the wings for 2 years, he'll be the starter, and then you have two other developmental guys behind him starting a pipeline in that way at the position?
That's a good question. Yeah, Xavier is a really fine quarterback and a fine athlete. A big guy, can really zip it. But it's hard, in this day and age with quarterbacks. And you try to have one every year, bring one in every year that you really feel good about, and then let them compete. And that's what will happen now, right? We had an incumbent starter, had a starter for 2 years, and now there'll be a quarterback competition at Rutgers, and someone will seize the opportunity and become the new starter. And I think that's the way it's going to be a lot of places across the country. And some of the guys will be portal guys, some of the guys will be high school guys, and it's just, you just let them go have at it. The guys who come here are going to be thrown to some really good receivers, going to have a good O-line and good running backs with them. So, I think it's an opportunity for all the quarterbacks to step up.
Greg, when you bring in players, I hear the term cultural fit. What does that mean, and why is that important to you?
Well, I think the thing that makes our program special is our culture, right? And you see it on that wall over there, family, trust, chop. What does that mean? Really, to summarize it, it's unselfish people, right, that are men of their word. They say it, they do it. And then that have the want to learn how to chop. You don't necessarily have to come here. I tell them, you bring unselfishness to this program, right? You bring oneness, what we call oneness, when your words and your actions consistently match. You bring those two things, because I can't, when they get here and they're 18 years old, I cannot put that in them. They were either raised that way or they weren't. What we teach them is how to chop. And to me, that skill is the single biggest skill that they leave here with, right? The mental toughness it takes to stay focused on that spot over and over and over again and just keep doing it, no matter if things are going well, things are not going well. Most days are just kind of as they are, but the ability to chop through whatever's happening and get to the finish. And, I think we have a group of guys that really want that. And that's the exciting thing to me. And that's critical, whether it be in high school recruiting now or in portal recruiting. You have to make sure. Otherwise, you're just, you're spinning your wheels.
How much do you think the development and the way that KJ Duff and Ian Strong have played here have helped bring in high-level wide receiver prospects like Dajir Carter, guys who have seen what you can do here, the way you can develop here, and just have that type of production?
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt about it, right? And as much to that, the performance on the field, well, how'd they get there, right? Well, Dave Brock is an exceptional receivers coach. John McNulty, his assistant, is an exceptional receivers coach. These guys both have years of NFL experience coaching some of the most elite receivers in the history of the game of football. So what a fortunate situation for a young receiver to come here and come under their tutelage and get better and better and better. And, my hat's off to them, because Brock really runs the room in a very, very definitive way, right? He understands exactly in recruiting who we're looking for. He understands what my desires are. And then he goes out and he finds those players with the help of our personnel office and really locks in and gets the guys that we want. So that's what happened here. I mean, I think we have 2 elite receivers, nationally elite receivers, that'll join a group of elite receivers. And what happens is that room kind of fuels a lot of movement.
You guys were able to flip Devontae Anderson just a couple days ago. What do you think put you guys over the top, and what does he kind of mean for the program?
Well, I really love Devontae. I told him when we were recruiting him before he had committed to another school, like, he was really one of my top guys. And I think the persistence of our staff, Damir Shaw, who's done a great job in so many of these recruiting battles this year, just stayed on it, just kept battling away and staying in contact and knowing that, great recruiters, people think great recruiters are the guys that can connect with the young people. And I was 50-something years old at Ohio State recruiting kids. It wasn't that I was their age. Recruiting is like anything else. If you chop every day and you stay in contact and you do the things that make people feel like, you know what, I have a real relationship with this coach and with this program, that's the difference to me. And Damir Shaw, our whole staff did a great job, but Damir Shaw, with this particular instance, kept in contact and was able to deliver at a time when it was very tumultuous with coaching, movement, and all kinds of things going on across our game. I think if you can stay consistent, you're not going to get everyone, but it's important that consistency in recruiting is critical. You pick the guy, you figure out who the guys you want to go after, and then you have to lock in laser lights on those guys and go get them.
My daughter is being treated for leukemia. It hit me hard. It did. Being a girl dad, it really just melted my heart.
You guys brought in 2 linebackers this cycle, and Tanner Raymond and Joey Kopik, 2 guys that primarily play offense for the high school teams. I'm sure you worked them out, but how hard is it to evaluate guys like that for a position that they don't play a lot in high school?
Well, they actually did play the position, so it wasn't as hard as you make it out to seem. But I do agree. I think high school athletes, like I said earlier, one of the things I love about our class, long and athletic, and if I left out a word, can run. Like, those are the 3 things. When you have long athletes that can run, that's a great place to start. And the best linebackers I've ever coached were running backs, right? Some of them were quarterbacks. I never worry about that. I look for the skills, and then I look for the person. And you put those 2 together after doing it as long as I have, I think you can say, this guy's going to be a great linebacker. Those 2 guys will be great players in college. There's no doubt in my mind. So I'm excited. They're joining a great room there, a bunch of young, talented guys, some from last year's class, some from the year before, and really excited to see them develop.
Looking at this offensive line class kind of as a whole, there's a lot of size, there's a lot of athleticism. I guess, what do you think is the biggest thing that sticks out to the collective offensive line class that you're bringing in?
Well, I think you hit it on the head. They're big, they're long, and they're athletic. One of the things that is critical to me when you look at offensive linemen, are they natural benders, right? You got to play the game. There's a saying in football, low man wins, right? Well, you got 6'7" guys, 6'6" guys. It's hard to get low. And the ability to bend naturally. Can we help a guy when he gets here become a better bender? Absolutely. But when guys can do it naturally, it's a great starting point. Now you really work on it and they become elite benders. And the ability to bend and play in the offensive line, if you're an athlete, those things go hand in hand.
with NIL and the transfer portal and everything else, does constructing a recruiting class kind of take on a different shape now, and that you have to have a certain amount of developmental players, a certain amount of high-end players, and maybe that changes your approach to how you piece together a class?
Yeah, I mean, it all has to fit together, and that's a great question because, I was just visiting with one of my friends in the National Football League who's a general manager, and we were talking this morning, going over some principles of building your roster out. And it keeps coming back to you have to look at, there has to be someone or someones that is looking at the roster 360, right? And 360 degrees and 365 days a year. Like people say, well, what are you going to do for recruiting? Well, we were already, this class was signed by 7/10, and we were right back onto the portal class that we're working on right now. Like there's no time. Recruiting is a 365 day a year event. No matter how hard that game was Saturday night, I was here, 3 hours after the game meeting with recruits and families. It never stops. If especially at Rutgers. I mean, we have to continue every single day. There's some blue blood programs that maybe can get away with a little bit. We can't. And again, I've said it over and over again. You have to know who you are and where you are and how to operate in that environment. And I think the one thing that our coaches do a tremendous job of is persistence and consistency. And if you can do that over and over and over again, and they really get to know who we are, the right ones end up coming here. And the ones that aren't right for this place, they kind of separate themselves. We don't really have to do that. And but that takes time. That doesn't happen overnight. But to your question, constructing that class, you have to look at it in a holistic manner and say, okay, where do we need immediate help? Now, that didn't used to be something you could address, right? It had to be purely through development and maybe junior college, but we haven't done a lot in that realm. We haven't gotten real involved in the junior college recruiting scene. Just from our academic situation, it's not a great fit. But what we have done is look in the portal now and say, okay, these are our immediate needs to be successful in 26. These are our developmental needs. Now, can they cross over sometimes? Yeah, there's a few freshmen in this class that'll definitely help us play on the field in 26. There's no doubt in my mind. But you can't really sit there and say, of a 21-man class, 15 of them are going to be on that field having an impact in the games come September. That I don't think is realistic. So being able to look at the class and the program, where do we need immediate help, work that into your numbers. And it's all about, it used to just be scholarship numbers. Now it's scholarship numbers. It's revenue share numbers. It's all that stuff. It's NIL numbers. You have to be able to project that constantly. And that's why so much of college football has grown and mushroomed. We built out an entire college personnel office that does nothing but work on evaluating college football players, guys that we think might go into the portal, guys that do go into the portal. If you're waiting to the day they go in the portal to be doing your investigation, you're light years behind, right? So
buying a gift from Parks Project this holiday season isn't just
really becoming that mushrooming effect around college football is there's a whole nother subset that has to be evaluated, and you don't even know if they're going to be available. So it really is quite a challenge. One that, people said, what was the biggest thing? You got more involved with the defense. And the biggest thing is it takes you away from this stuff. On a daily basis, it takes you away from being able to do all the things you need to do with portal evaluations and portal forecasting and all those things. So getting this class signed was critical. And I'm really excited about them. But like I said, it's right onto the portal. And without a bowl game, right, the one thing that's a positive is we can work full force on that. And if you have to find a positive, that's it. I'm not saying I ever want to do it again, ever, but we quickly move on to the next thing around here. And once it wasn't a bowl game, then it was time to everybody in the program focus. But you got to remember the 27s and the 28s and the 29s, they're still being recruited every day. Like it's a nonstop, we recruit 3 to 4 classes as well as the portal consecutively all the time.
2 New Jersey recruits in this class. It's a relatively low number compared to previous years. Is that reflective of an expanding footprint that you're able to go in other states and find talent, or is that just kind of the way it shook out this year?
I think it's more of a factor of we're going to make sure that we take guys that we feel fit our program. And I think it's cyclical. Last year we took 11 guys from New Jersey. So it's certainly not Jersey. We want to always make our presence and our footprint for sure. New Jersey, New York, Eastern Pennsylvania, Delaware, Southern Connecticut. That's our footprint, right? You draw a circle. But we're going to recruit at least this half of the country. And if there's a reason to go elsewhere where there's players with a connection, we'll do that as well. But we're going to make sure that we get the guys that fit our program. And that's exhausting for sure. But some years it just falls that way. Other years it doesn't. But I'm not going to do ever. Am I going to say, well, I'm going to take this guy because he's from New Jersey or he's from New York? Because at the end of the day, people worry about this press conference. I don't worry about this press conference. I have very little concern over it. I want to make sure that those guys, when I show up in winter conditioning, when I show up in spring practice, when I show up to training camp, that I love coaching them. A mentor of mine, Coach Paterno, used to say, don't worry about the ones you don't get. Make sure you love coaching the ones you got. And I live by that. And if there's, of these 21 guys, I'm really certain I'm going to love coaching every one of them.
Greg, you've always had success in Florida recruiting, but now it seems like you're going up the East Coast. Any reason why Georgia, Virginia, like you're hitting some players in those states?
Well, I think, being in the Big Ten Conference, Fooch, makes you a much more national brand, right? So now all of a sudden these guys are seeing Rutgers more and more. They're hearing about Rutgers more and more than the first time I was here. And again, it also comes down to the person who recruits an area. I mean, I think you'd be foolish to think it's no different than sales in business, right? When you have someone who's really good and really persistent and can really, really make hay in an area, all of a sudden that area becomes productive for you. Scott Vallone did a great job, has done a great job in North Carolina. He busts his tail down there and has created kind of a niche for himself. And, North Carolina is kind of dead smack. It's not a flight. You can drive it, maybe not. It's too far. There's a lot of good programs in North Carolina. He went in there and rolled his sleeves up, and we've gotten some really good players in the state. So it's a combination of all the things. But anywhere where there's an airport and people can get in and out easily, I think it's an easy sell because a great academic institution and what we're building here in from a football perspective.
Greg, I know in the past you said it's a group effort for the coaches when it comes to recruiting guys, but you just mentioned Demir Shaw before. We hear about him a lot when talking to recruits. What is his secret sauce on the recruiting trail?
Well, he works very hard at it. I know that. And, he, along with a bunch of other coaches, do that. But Demir is a younger guy who's an established coach. He's produced players. You look at the guys that he's coached in his own room, in the running back room. Kyle's doing well in the NFL. Antoine's doing really well in the Big Ten. And he's a local guy. He's a Philly guy that understands the landscape here very, very well. But at the end of the day, I always look at coaches, why they're great recruiters. It's who they are and how they connect and how persistent they are in doing it over and over and over again. And that's one thing that Demir does an awesome job of.
Final question.
You mentioned the transfer portal as part of recruiting, so I'm just going to ask the question with NIL and kind of looking ahead towards the portal. Are you confident that the funds, the resources are going to be there for you to be able to go out there and address the needs for the roster build?
Yeah, I am. It's a great question. I am. We're working our tails off. Kelly and her people are working their tails off. I mean, everybody's on one mission, right? And as we said to each other after that tough loss, 26 starts tomorrow morning. So get up, everybody get up, get ready to fight, and let's go. We got work to do. And it's fun to feel like, across the street in Rodkin, there's people that are working just as hard as we are down here. And everybody is set on one vision to make sure that this turns into a championship program. So, yes, I'm confident that that's going to happen. And I'm confident that we're going to use those funds like surgically to make sure we fill the needs that we need to fill for this 26 season. I think I heard you say last question, right? So a couple things that I'd like to do. I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize Eric Josephs, who's our director of recruiting, our assistant GM on the personnel side, and Jordan Walkstein, who is our assistant GM on the financial side. Those two guys have done an incredible job consistently year round, and I'm not the easiest guy to do that for. Because I'll do this, I'll do all these things, and then all of a sudden it'll be 9 o'clock and say, all right, let's get started. And it's 9 o'clock at night, and they look at me like, all right, let's go. Some people, you say, let's get started at 9 o'clock. They started. I was heading out. And those two guys, are perfect for me because they're constantly on it. They live it. And when you have people like that that are passionate, love the program, love the university, and are willing to do whatever it takes, it's only a matter of time. And that would be my message to our fans. That would be my message to the recruits that are signing. And that would be my message to the guys on our football team. It's only a matter of time. And these guys are certainly going to be a big help in that effort. Again, guys, as I do every time, I want to thank you for covering our team. I know there's a lot of people who care about Rutgers and Rutgers football, and you're able to get the message out there, and it means a lot to us. So thanks.
So that was Greg Schiano at his signing day presser today. Spoke for about 20 minutes. Like I said, not a whole lot there that we kind of didn't already know. He used to, I don't know if you guys remember back in the day, he used to just like start off and give like a 30-second spiel on every single guy who signed. So these signing day pressers used to be like hour-long affairs, but they are much more streamlined now. And I'm sure every minute of every day is regimented right now for Greg Schiano. But high-level stuff that stuck out to me, we've kind of been alluding to this, and they've been beefing this out over time, but the fact that he acknowledged that they have a college personnel staff that they've built out, and that they are basically building up dossiers and building up target lists, for lack of a better term, of guys who they would go after if they do enter the portal. Very similar to what we've been doing for years now, where we're looking into guys who, based on location, PFF data, based on their stats, based on a lot of different factors that would maybe make sense, height, weight, size, speed, profile. I'm not saying they haven't done that in the past too, but I'm glad that they're really taking this seriously, because I mean, how much do we bitch and moan about they weren't they weren't embracing the transfer portal enough early on in Schiano 2.0. And now, last year they got 19 guys in the portal. So I think that's certainly in the past. But Alec, what's something that stood out to you that Greg Schiano said in his presser today?
I think just a lot of the different trends that we've seen for Rutgers in terms of recruiting, whether it's, expanding their territory to kind of go all across the East Coast, or even just the athletes that they're bringing in, the offensive line. You mentioned, being able to bend especially as a tackle, is ultra important. Just kind of those newer trends and where football's headed these days. I mean, he still has a lot of, he's going to be an old school guy through and through because that's just who he is. But there are some trends when it comes to recruiting and things like that where you can see they're kind of adapting to. I also thought his answer about, New Jersey guys, things like that there are only 2 in this class, was pretty interesting as well. So those are the main things that stuck out to me.
How about you, Rich? What stood out to you about Greg Schiano's presser today?
He didn't really say a whole lot. I shouldn't say that. He said a lot, but it wasn't a lot of substance. It was basically kind of rephrasing a lot of our questions too, which I hate specifically. Like even Alec's question about the offensive line, he just rephrased it and said the 3 words that Alex said to describe the offensive line. And I don't care what anyone says. We watched the tapes on the linebackers. They didn't play much linebacker in those tapes.
I'm guessing they have access
had 14 tackles this year.
Yeah,
they have access to more tape than we do. I don't know.
Yeah, sure, which they probably do. But come on, the tape that's out there.
If a guy plays linebacker and it's not on his huddle highlight reel, did he really play linebacker?
That was it is what it is at that point. I've also been sitting here trying to decipher which GM in the NFL he went and visited, and I got it down to 4 names. So it's either the Houston Texans GM Nick Caserio, John Perry was there, remember, not too long ago in Houston. On top of that, he was in New England at the same time Greg was for that little stint before he, I don't even know. Joe Horitz, Los Angeles Chargers, Wilmington, Delaware native. I don't know. Maybe he still has a house there. Just kind of guessing. Monty Ossenfort, the Cardinals, drafted Max Melton. Also was in New England at the same time as Greg. Makes a lot of sense. He was in New England for over 13 years with Bill Belichick. So that's when I got it down to pretty much. It's one of those 3.
I mean, I think it's also as simple as Schiano knows
Joe
a
Shane.
ton of NFL guys just for being a head coach for so long, talking to scouts, chopping it up.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Occam's razor for me, it was probably either Joe Shane or whoever the guy running the Jets is right now.
Darren Mogi, I think his name is, or Howie Roseman. He's been getting involved in college football a little bit more. Maybe.
Joe Shane also has a son who plays for Bosco, so I'm sure he's had some kind of recruiting relationship there.
Did Rutgers offer him? I forget. Okay. I mean, he's pretty highly regarded, I think, so far. He's only a sophomore, I think.
Couple solid offers. I actually just talked to him yesterday.
I want to say Wake Forest.
Carson Shane is also not that burner account that everyone keeps complaining that they think it's him. We were joking around about that. That is just, it's not him, just so we know. UMass, Coastal, Rhode Island so far.
Okay. What were some things that stood out to you, though, Rich, about the presser today?
I mean, he is expanding. I thought it was kind of ironic, too, that he said he was talking about recruiters and how, like, everyone says you have to be young, up-and-coming recruiter to connect with these kids. And he's like, I did it at Ohio State. Then you go look and talk the two coaches that he mentioned specifically are the young and upcoming guys in Demir Shaw and Scott Vallone. So it's like I get what he's trying to say is that, like, the old school guys can still coach and recruit, but, like, the young guys are always going to out-recruit the older guys. It's just so much of an easier bonding situation when you're Demir Shaw versus, say, Pat Flaherty walking in a room. Now, Pat Flaherty can just go like, look at that, I got 2 of these.
Rings.
What's up? But in reality, those young guys are just able to connect so much. I mean, look at Demir Shaw's Twitter feed alone. There's like 8 guys that like tweeted out like, oh my God, like, we're back. We're here. What's up? And it's like,
I'm pretty sure Greg also mentioned, like, when you asked about Demir Shaw, he said, well, he's young and then he works hard, or he said works hard, he's young, and all that stuff.
It's just like, come on. Like, that's the reason there's good recruiters is because they're young. I get it. You did it at Ohio State. Also, let's be honest. How much did you actually do it at Ohio State? Coordinators don't ever recruit.
It's fair. Yeah.
So, I don't know. I just thought that was kind of a cop-out, but all you had to do was just give the 2 young guys their roses and just say, hey, these guys are good at their jobs. They're ace in the hole. That's it.
Yeah, but
sorry, I sound negative about a press conference that like wasn't even negative.
Nah, it's all right.
Someone's sad that he got corrected.
Yeah, I didn't get corrected. I'm right. I'm still right.
You got bodied, is what you got, Richie.
It was one of the
GMs. You like
Matumbo. You were right. It's one of the GMs in the area. I don't know which one, but I was told it's one of the GMs in the area.
Yeah.
Maybe one of them will finally draft a Rutgers guy.
Maybe. I mean, I think the Giants haven't drafted a Rutgers guy since like the 80s or 70s.
Yeah,
something crazy like that.
That's about right. It's pretty
they
crazy.
had Jonathan Hillman as like a camp guy, but I don't think that ever went anywhere.
Joe Martinek they had for a little bit. Jersey Joe.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Brandon Bing.
I think that's kind of all we got today, right, guys? Anything else you guys wanted to touch on before we head out?
If you haven't already, check out the message boards. There's a bunch of good stuff on there from signing day. We'll have a lot more later on this week. We'll have an updated eligibility chart / scholarship chart, whatever you want to call that. Got to take CJ Campbell off that, I guess. Probably going to be taking a couple more names off of that in the next week, like we kind of already hinted at. So that's bound to happen. I mean, it's kind of obvious, too, because it's portal season, baby, and we're going to be having probably at least 2 pods a week, if not more.
Yeah. And also, I want to reiterate what we were talking about earlier. The Spotify Wrapped was released today, and we're going to run a giveaway. The way you could enter this giveaway, and the prize is TBD, and we kind of want some suggestions. If you tweet at RutgersOn3 and tag us with your top 5, including the Night Report podcast in your top 5, then you'll get 1 entry. And if you screenshot proof that you've given us a 5-star review on Spotify or Apple, you get 1 entry for each. So you can get up to 3 entries for the screenshots you provide us into a contest. You know, most recently we gave away a Kyle Monungai jersey earlier this season. We're still deciding on what the giveaway will be, but it'll be worth your time. It's, you know, we don't skimp out here on the giveaways.
We've already Yeah, we've already seen a few so far. Some friends. Shout out my family friend Jesse. I don't want to say his last name because I don't want to dox the guy, but
people on here?
no.
Jeez.
But shout out to Jesse. You guys met him too on Saturday too. So #1 on his Spotify Wrapped.
There we go.
Yeah, and here's what it'll look
yeah.
like. If for those who are wondering, we want to see the top 5 with the Night Report podcast on there. And if you want to know how to review a podcast, if you go to our podcast in Spotify, you can hit the About tab. And once you go into the About tab, you want to click on the review area and then give it a 5-star review. And then you hit submit at the bottom. And that is how you submit it. So I want to thank everybody for listening. I know, I didn't expect to be on a pod for the second time today, but here we are. The news doesn't necessarily wait for what's convenient for everybody else, but that is what we do for you guys. We try and get on here as quickly as possible to talk everything Rutgers athletics. But I want to thank you once again for listening. For me, Alec, and Richie, this has been another edition of the Night Report podcast, signing off.